Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. This is a practice based around the kidney and bladder energy. We will be waking up the stagnant energy we might feel between the end of winter and the beginning of spring. But you can practice this sequence at any time throughout the year, whenever you're feeling perhaps a little bit kind of lacking in energy, or you need a bit of rest, a little gentler pace with your practice. This is a practice accessible for anybody, so have a go, have a little play, and you don't necessarily need any props unless you would like something comfortable for Shavasana. And I will meet you on the mat in a seated position in just a moment. So to start our practice today, we're going to be seated and we want to be able to access the soles of our lovely feet. So if you need to sit on a chair or you need a cushion or a bolster or something to elevate the hips a little bit, please do. Now we're going to first start to stimulate into our kidney energy by accessing acupressure point kidney 1. So the first point of our kidney line. Now, we're looking at sort of meridian lines based around the traditional Chinese medicine, but this is a really lovely spot to wake up also the fascia, the back line, connective tissue as well. So these are great ways to start to work into not just the feet, but the entire body. So kidney point number 1, what you want to do is bring your thumb in between your big toe and your second toe and draw a line down to just underneath the toe mound. And then when you press in, you should feel a little bit of a tender spot. You can give it a bit of a massage here. Now, if it's really hard to access seated with your hips open, by all means pop yourself up onto a chair. You can even do a little figure 4, and you can start to access one of these points. For me, it feels a little bit tender on my right side more than my left. Now, you can also do this in a butterfly position, allowing the hips to open, and give both points a little bit of a stimulation. And feeling maybe if one side is different from the other. Maybe just pressing and holding and breathing. We're just waking up this energy a little bit, trying not to be too stagnant. So if we can get this kind of stagnant energy in the kidney and bladder, we're working with the element of water. So thinking about how important it is for water to be constantly moving and flowing so it doesn't stagnate. But it doesn't have to flow super fast. As we're coming out of the winter months, thinking of like an ice cube beginning to melt slowly, to trickle away. Good. Couple more breaths. If you've done one foot and you want to do the opposite, make sure you've done both. And you can give as much or a little pressure as you'd like. And then we're going to tuck the toes underneath. This is one of my love-hate poses. So tucking all of the toes under, particularly that lovely little toe that likes to stick out to the side. We're going to tuck that one under. And sitting back onto the heels. Now, I'm aware this is not accessible for everybody. If you need a cushion in between your bum and your heels, just to elevate, to keep a bit of space for the knees, you can. You can also do one foot at a time, so it's not so intense, but I will tell you when to swap. And you can also lean forward a little bit, so you can tuck the toes and maybe just pace it by coming back and in. Don't over stimulate the sensation if it doesn't work for you. And you can also place something underneath the knees if you need a little extra height. But at any point it gets too intense, just take a break. You can come up onto the knees and then come back down again. For those of us doing both feet at the same time, we're going to stay here and we're going to breathe nice and slowly. Imagining your breath is like a wave moving in and out, and we're just stimulating that gentle flow by working from the base of the feet first and lifting the energy of the kidney line up. Now, if you've done one foot, swap and do the other foot now, so we're even. And then allowing the breath just to keep fanning through the body. Try not to be super reactive. So you want to keep this in a place where you're not bursting with adrenaline. You want to keep it at a pace where you feel this is manageable. If you start to feel that adrenaline spiking, shift out of it slightly. We're always constantly in this high adrenaline state a lot of the time in our lives. The way that we work and live, it's constantly buzzing. So thinking how depleted our adrenal glands might be from constant action all of the time. So giving it a little bit more of a gentle sensational response actually might be quite nice. Even though we're stimulating to avoid that stagnation, we're actually gently waking rather than forcefully shouting, "Wake up, move." Good, one more breath here. Now releasing the hands forward, maybe just moving the feet a little bit, the ankles. And we'll step our feet to the top of our mat and come into a bit of an easy dangle, so you can bend your knees. You might want to move around a little bit. Let the head just really be heavy. Take all the weight off the shoulders. Elongate through the back. And the kidneys are behind the rib cage. They're just tucked underneath the back of the rib cage. If you've ever had kidney pain, you'll know where they are because you feel them. And when we're thinking about the bladder lines, the bladder energy line runs down the back line of the body. So this one comes down from the inside of the eyes, up and over the head. It has a few channels, but it tends to go all the way down the back, all the way down the back of the body, down the base of the feet into the little toes. So we're really working with a downward energy and an upward energy. The kidney energy starting from the big toe and going up the inside of the leg. So we'll be working a bit into the hips today as well, but move easily, gently. Okay, we'll curl up nice and slowly. Take our time, no rush. Everything seems to be so rushed all of the time. So let's give ourselves a pace that feels a little bit more easy to maintain. There's still movement, but it's a softer movement, a softer pace. And when you come to standing, just find your base. Find that sensation of rooting down through your feet, relaxing your shoulders, maybe softening your face. And if you need to just look around the room, just taking in your environment, that awareness of safety, of feeling connected to the space that you're in. When we look around and we use our eyesight, it doesn't mean that we're looking for danger. We're looking and going, I'm safe, I'm comfortable. This can actually ignite our parasympathetic nervous system, that relaxation response, and calm down the stress response. So we're going to take a few breaths here, placing the hands either to the abdomen, the heart, or anywhere you would like to feel connected to your body. Breathing slowly, allowing things to not be rushed or forced. On our next inhalation, we'll gently lift the arms up to the sky, stretching out through both sides of the body as the palms connect. Maybe a very slight opening through the heart. And as we exhale, draw the hands towards the heart center. We're going to circle into the right hip. Now you can keep the toes on the floor, or you can lift the leg up. Making a little bit of playful awareness into that right hip as you move. You can go back the other way. If it needs a little bit less, take less. And just explore your hips, your pelvis and how this moves. Just be gentle. And maybe starting to extend the right leg forward and back. You might want to take one hand to the belly, one to the back, just to check we're not throwing the back in and out. Or maybe just a gentle swing of this right leg. It can be quite nice just to allow a little bit of movement. Effortless. If you need to hold on to something, you can. And then placing that right foot a little behind the left, so we can ground the entire foot into the floor. We'll bend the knees deeply, feeling the backs of the Achilles tendon, the calf muscles. And then begin to fold forward slowly, keeping our knees bent to begin with. Maybe the hands reach down to the earth, maybe they dangle. So we'll straighten into the back leg as best we can, keeping the heel grounded, and bend the front knee more. What can you feel here? We'll bend the back knee and straighten the front leg, maybe lifting up the toes if you'd like, even catching the foot, interlacing the fingers and gently pulling up. We'll replace the left foot down, bend the left knee and straighten the back leg. What can you feel down the legs? Calf muscles maybe, Achilles tendon. And then swapping, bending the right knee, lifting up maybe the toes, maybe clasping around the foot, gently pulling back. Gentle. Releasing the left foot back into the earth, hands down. We'll take a big lunge back with that right leg, dropping the right knee into the ground. And you might want to stay here, just sensing what it feels like to open up into your hips, lengthen through your spine. You may decide to bring your hands up to your left thigh, which can feel quite nice, to open up through the sides of the body. Maybe even reaching the arms up towards the sky, really trying to expand the sides of your body, particularly around where your kidneys are, and opening up this space. We'll take a breath in and a breath out to bring the hands all the way down back to the floor. Tucking the back toes, lifting the back knee off the ground, and see if we can begin to straighten into the front leg. Begin to straighten doesn't mean it has to be fully straight. You might even want to pick up the toes for extra sensation, but keep it within an accessible range of feeling. If you can bow forward and that feels nice, by all means have a little bow in. Flexibility isn't really our goal here. It's about feeling safe and secure in the body, slowly waking up. And if you need a bit of movement in your hips, take a bit of movement. Don't be afraid to move your body in a way that suits your needs today. Good. We're going to feel up the inside of the leg by replacing the left toes back down to the floor and turning out the right foot. Taking the left hand up to the left shin or thigh, or keeping it to the foot, and sweeping up the right arm, coming into our triangle pose. I quite like stretching my right arm all the way over my head because it feels nicer in the kidney space for me. If that feels good for you, you can do so. But if the arm needs to go somewhere else, take it where it feels more comfortable for your shoulder. And maybe feeling that inner thigh pull all the way from kind of the groin area down towards the knee. Okay, slowly pivoting back round, bringing the right hand back down to the floor, coming back onto the right ball of the foot, drop the right knee. And join the left knee to the earth by the right. We're going to keep the hips stacked over the knees and walk the hands forward, coming into our puppy pose. Now, if you cannot get your head to the floor, you can always drop your forearms into the ground, taking hold of opposite elbows and bring the head to the forearms. If your head does come to the ground, that's absolutely fine. Maybe even lengthening the arms out and lifting the elbows off the floor if it feels nicer as a stretch underneath the armpits and into the latissimus dorsi muscles down the side of the body. And then maybe just wagging the tail. If we had a tail, I'd want a bushy one. Nice like rabbit tail, like a pom-pom. And just wagging it a little bit side to side. And just gently opening up into the side of the body. I probably only say that I want a pom-pom tail because my dog has that sort of curly, fluffy tail. It's very cute. Good, one more breath. Coming back to the center with the hips, forearms come into the floor, and we're going to slide forward into a Sphinx position. Hips come down into the earth. Try and maintain the shoulders kind of strong-ish, so active-ish. So not too intense, but we're not collapsing into the shoulders. And if we need a little bit more space, just walk the forearms slightly forward so that you don't have too much pressure in your lower back. If you quite like this, squeeze the buttocks, tuck the tailbone, maybe push through the hands to lift the forearms off the floor, coming into our seal variation. Try to avoid lifting the chin up and think about pulling up through the back of the skull. So we get that length all the way through the front of the throat. You might feel this quite strongly in the abdomen region, the solar plexus, the front of the hips. And just breathe here. On the next exhale, just gently melt the elbows back in if they're lifted. Bring the hands underneath the shoulders. And we're going to push all the way back up into our tabletop position. And then lifting the tailbone up into a cow variation. So arching the back. And we sink the bum back towards the heels into our child pose. We will round forward into our cat, coming back into tabletop. Lifting the tailbone up, arching the back, pushing back, and coming into our child pose. Keep this movement flowing. It can move with your breath. Inhale, rounding. Maybe exhale, pushing back, or vice versa. Let your breath feel natural, rather than stressed or forced. One more. As we come back through to child pose, widen your knees. And take a moment to pause here, maybe dropping the forehead to the floor. Soften. Give yourself the permission to slow down. And even if you're not feeling tired, even if you're bursting with energy, what does it feel like for you to actually give yourself the permission to say, I can just simmer in that energy and not have to use it? Because it's still moving around your internal body. We don't always have to burn it off. And then making your way, if you would like to, into a downward facing dog. So you can stay in child pose or shift the weight into down dog. If there needs to be movement here, let movement be felt as part of your practice because it's needed or kind of where your body really wants to explore. Not just because I told you to. So allowing yourself to make the decisions based upon your body's needs. And that in that fluidity, water-like experience be felt in your body. Good. Now if you're in down dog or child pose, we're going to come back onto the knees, tabletop, and step the right foot to the outside of the right hand, or the outside of the mat even. And coming into a lizard lunge, you can move into the hips a bit here. It doesn't have to be stagnant. In fact, we're trying to allow movement to be shifted through the body. So we want less stagnation. That doesn't mean you have to take lots of movements. It can mean that you just want to feel the internal shifting when you're stretching. If you want to take a bit more movement though, if your body needs it, explore. And then replacing the right hand into the earth if it's lifted, tuck the left toes, hop or slide that left foot to the outside of the left hand. And we're coming into a squat. Active squats, we can be a bit higher. More passive, more malasana sort of squat, we can come down. Our heels don't have to be on the floor. They don't have to be connected to the ground. We can lift our heels up. Our knees are designed to go over our toes. They're designed to do that. So if you know it's your ankles that are tight, preventing you from being able to place your heels to the floor, or your Achilles tendon or your calf muscles, then you can either take a wider stance and be a bit more active, or you might just want to lift the heels up and maybe move around like this. So listen to what your body can do, feel into what your body can do, and don't think that the best pose is heels down. It's not necessarily the best variation, But if you can get your heels down, try and track your knees in line roughly with your middle toe, just so that we don't have a collapsing of the foot and the knee coming in or over rotating outwards. So go for kind of where it feels the safest for the knees. And take another breath in our little squat, waking up our hips. And then folding forward, heel-toeing the feet back to maybe hip distance and slowly curling up. Take your time to curl up, no rush at all. We'll sweep our arms up to the sky when we get there, inhaling. Palms connect at the top, maybe a gentle back bend to open up through the heart, and exhale, hands to the heart center. Start to circle into the left hip. Remember, your toes can stay on the ground, or you can lift up that left leg. You can go both directions, or you can just internally, externally rotate. Good. Let's have a little swing, or just a step forward and back with the left leg. You can swing the left leg, releasing a little bit. Maybe taking the hands to the pelvis just to check we're not throwing the back in. So just very gentle. Waking up a little bit. And almost shaking out some of that unneeded stagnation. Now we'll place the left foot behind the right so that we can then ground our feet to the floor. Bending your knees deeply. You might feel the back, Achilles tendon and calf muscle stretch a little bit into the ankle. I love that feeling. And then folding forward. Bringing the weight into the front foot and straightening the back left leg. Really push the heel down towards the earth. And then we'll swap, bending the back left knee, straightening-ish the front, maybe lifting the front right toes, maybe clasping the fingers around the foot and gently pulling back. Ooh, that's nice on this side. Landing the right foot, bending the right knee, straightening the left, and then pushing back, bending the left knee, straightening the right, maybe lifting up the toes, clasping the fingers around the foot and gently pulling back. And we'll re-land the foot, the fingers, and we'll take a big step back with that left leg, dropping the knee down into the floor, low lunge. You can stay here, maybe lifting up through the crown of the head, perhaps bringing your arms onto your thigh, so you get a little extra length up through the body, or even lifting your arms up towards the sky. Just put as much effort in as you would like to. We're not trying to deplete our energy, but instead start to wake it up. So if you're feeling tired, take a bit less. One more breath here. We'll bring the hands back down to frame the front foot, tuck the back left toes, and elevate the left knee. And we can hop it a bit closer and then start to straighten into the front leg. Remember, it doesn't have to be fully straight. If you want to fold a bit deeper, you can. Or maybe lift up the toes of the right foot, getting an extra stretch down the back of the right leg. And if you need a bit of movement in your hips here, don't be afraid to move. We can get very strict with ourselves in our yoga practice, but our bodies are spirally. They spiral and wrap and roll. They're not straight, long lines. They are beautiful curves and weaves in and out, so we can feel into that with our practice. Now we'll ground the right foot if the toes are lifted and turn out the left foot to the long edge of the mat. Slide the right hand up somewhere, either shin or thigh, and we'll pick up that left arm either up to the sky or over the head into triangle pose. Or if this arm feels a little bit uncomfortable there, take it where it does feel it can kind of keep your shoulder happy. I like this feeling of the arm coming over the head as I can feel it pulling into the side of the body, right by the kidneys. Good. Then we'll pivot back down to the floor. Regrounding the left hand, right hand, and dropping the left knee into the earth, joining it with the right knee, back to tabletop. Then walking our hands forward into puppy pose. Remember, if you can get your head down to the earth, maybe lifting up the elbows and straightening the arms out. You can even make tents with the hands, so the fingertips are pointing down. Or you might want to drop your forearms underneath the forehead, so you've got a little extra support. And if you can, avoid just hammocking into the belly. So if you are very mobile, perhaps avoid bringing the chin to the floor. Think about creating length. So we're pulling the hips back slightly and reaching the arms forward. Then a little bit of a wag of the tail, side to side. Can be slow, can be quick. Replanting the forearms. And we're coming through into our Sphinx position. Hips come down, legs lengthen behind. Pull up through the back of the skull rather than the chin. And if you want that extra extension, elevating the elbows, drawing the shoulder blades down and back, and squeezing the buttocks to support your lower back. Some people just have naturally more space between their lumbar spine vertebrae. So if you find this is like, horrible for your body, you don't need to go here. If it feels really glorious for your body, but actually too effortful, you can come back to Sphinx at any point. So just checking in with your energy as opposed to where your body can actually go. We'll take one more breath. As we come back down onto the belly, hands will tuck close to the shoulders, we'll push back into tabletop, and then just flick the tailbone up, coming through our cow, as we come back into child pose. Rounding forward, curving the spine the other way into cat. And again, lifting the tailbone up, waving our body back into our child pose through cow. Keep going, coming forward, rounding into cat. Shifting to tabletop, and then lifting the tailbone. Lift the head slowly, and come back into child pose. Last time. Rounding forward into our cat pose. Lifting the tailbone and shifting back into child pose. Maybe where you widen the knees and take a few moments to rest. Soften the arms, soften the head, the face, the jaw. Notice if you've been clenching the teeth at all. Are we still breathing smoothly like that wave? Where's the heat, coolness, sensations, or energy in your body? If you desire to, coming into downward facing dog, you can stay in child's pose, and movement is always welcome, but so is stillness. So even if we're still, it doesn't mean we're stagnating. Stillness doesn't require us to be still internally. We have lots of internal movement happening. So if actually the stillness feels really great and helps you feel and tap into the internal movement, you can stay still. Trust that your body will tell you when it needs to move, if you can. And this might take practice to trust the body, to attune inwards. We have to kind of stop and then maybe move again and see, well, what's it actually trying to communicate with me? And even if you're in down dog or child pose, coming onto the knees, we're going to step our left foot to the outside of our left hand, coming into our lizard lunge. And remember here, if you need to take a little extra rotation or movement, you can. Or you can find a bit of stillness. Using your breath. And tucking that right toe under, we'll step the right foot or hop it to the outside of the right hand, coming into your squat. Whatever that might be for your body, whether it's an active squat, whether it's a malasana, whether your heels are lifted or grounded, whether you're folding forward or lengthening through to the crown of the head. We'll replace the hands into the earth, straighten the legs and heel toe the feet together or hip distance, and then curling up, steady, all the way up to standing. Sweeping the arms up high one final time. Palms can touch and draw the hands to the heart center. And we're going to make our way onto our backs, coming down. Constructive rest pose, so grounding the feet into the floor. Hands can rest anywhere they would like to. And I want you to pay attention to 4 points that are connected to the ground. Your feet, your sacrum, your shoulder blade and thoracic spine, and the back of your skull. In these 4 places, feet, sacrum, shoulder blades, and skull. Imagine you're just sinking into the sand, the bottom of an ocean. You're peaceful, calm. And the water that's just gently hugging around you, moving with the current. Your breath gently simulates the motion of the water. And we may want to start to rock from left to right with the knees, the head, like we're just sea kelp or seagrass, taking a little bit of movement. Try not to overthink it. You can also reach the arms up, but drop the shoulder blades into the floor and let the arms move with you. It's allowing a little bit of free movement here. You can roll all the way over to one side, letting your head roll with you, and all the way back to the other. And feeling the body in contact with the earth, but also free to move and play. Coming back to the center. We'll guide the knees in towards the center of the body, maybe hands around knees or shins. And just start to allow the hips to rotate. The next pose we're taking is Happy Baby, or a variation of. So you might just want to drop your elbows into the floor and rest your knees into your hands, and that might be plenty. Or you can take your arms to the insides of the legs, grabbing either shins or ankles, and then letting the arms kind of gently nudge open the hips. This is also a wonderful place to stay. Or you can lengthen, or lift, I should say, the feet up towards the ceiling, but keeping the lower back. So remember, the sacrum here wants to be grounded, rather than the tailbone coming up, only because if you rock in this pose, it's not that great on your spine. It doesn't feel that nice. And I want you to have that feeling of kind of contact with the earth. If you can reach the feet, that's fine. I actually quite like grabbing my ankles because I want my feet to be soft. And then allowing a bit of movement if that feels nice, like a rocking motion side to side. If rocking doesn't really work for you, that's fine. This feels really nice for me, but then I'm not a lover of the intensity of happy baby. So any way to get out of it feels quite nice for me. And again, just playing, letting your body guide you. Maybe the eyes are closed or you're just gazing around your room. Sometimes I think in yoga or meditation, you must close your eyes, otherwise you're not connecting inwards. It's not true. We can still connect with our eyes open. And we'll make our way back to the center. Slowly close the legs and elevate them up towards the sky. And these can be soft, just give them a bit of a shake. Wiggling them out. Maybe the arms go up. You can give the arms, the hands a bit of a shake. Get the lymphatic system moving as well. And then very slowly, the arms are going to kind of just drift. Imagine they're sinking down through that really warm, lush water, all the way down into the sand beneath. We then bend our knees, allow our feet to almost have that sinking feeling, all the way down until the feet touch into the floor, squidging into the sand. Maybe you want to stay here with your feet grounded, connecting to the sacrum, the scapular area and the skull, or you can lengthen your legs away, finding our traditional Shavasana, but make the final pose of your practice today comfortable, warm and safe. Feeling the energy that you've moved through your body slowly. Sometimes when we shift some of our stagnant energy, it might create tiredness. It doesn't always create an alert and awake feeling. We may have needed to shift something in order to give ourselves the permission to rest. We may have needed to wake up a little bit. But we can still stay here enjoying either our tiredness or our energy in physical stillness. And I'm going to leave you here so you can decide how long your body needs in this pose on this day for this practice.